Right, so welcome everybody. I hope everyone's comfortable and has got teas and coffees. And I wish we could offer you them, but we can't. I'm really sorry. Um, so I'm Peggy Sharp. I'm the Community Engagement Officer with the District Council. I think I know most of you, or I know of most of you, or you know of me. So that's me. Moving on to the next person.
Hello, I'm Alison Glenny. I'm the Community Engagement Administration Officer. I work to administer the grant streams for St Albans Council. I know some people in the group this evening, so hello again to all of you.
Lovely. And not last but not least, we have Isabel. Hello. It's all gone very quiet.
Well, I'll try again. My name's Isabel Hatfield from Partnerships and Development Coordinator from Communities First, and I can help to support your application. And well, as you'll see later on in the presentation, I have advice surgeries where I can work with you on your application and give you a few pointers and tips and things like that. So nice. I haven't met everybody, so nice to see those that I do know. Good to see you again, and very nice to meet everybody else whom I haven't met before. Over to you, Peggy. Next.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thanks, Isabel and Alison. Just very quickly, is there anyone in the meeting that doesn't know what Communities First does? Just shout now. That's good. That's good. That's good. I just thought we'd but check that out. So with no further ado, oh, hold on, it's because I've got two screens going. So just introducing our funding streams. This is what they're like at the moment. Without wishing to confuse too much, and I'll talk about it a little bit at the end, there will be some changes to our grant streams next year. But these are our four funding streams. We have Strategic Commissioning Fund. That funds Communities First to do this work and a lot of the other work that they do that you know about, as well as Castad, the Citizens Advice, and Hightown. Our Community Partnerships Fund, some of you will be familiar with that possibly. That's 3-year funding of varying sizes for revenue essentially. Project Commissioning Fund up the top is where we see there might be a gap and then we plug it fairly quickly. Kate from Earthworks, you benefited from that just recently, didn't you? To help support you through to put in some coronavirus measures. And the one we're talking about is this one in yellow, Community Grants Fund. So our budget for the whole year Community Grants Fund is 55,000. We were thinking when we launched it in July that we'd only do one round this year. As it was, we didn't end up with quite as many applications as we hoped. And there was various reasons, I think, for that. I mean, we were still not sure what it was looking like. There were some organisations that was still, most of their staff were furloughed, etc., etc. And we also found as well that we didn't have as many applications from some particular areas, but Alison will go into detail on that in a moment. But basically what's left in this pot is 18,700, so it's not a lot. But we can chat through some different examples and let you know the sorts of things that we're looking for. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide, which I think Alison's going to go through in some more detail. There we go. Over to you, Alison.
Thanks, Peggy. So yes, the first July round of Community Grants Fund, £36,277.21 was awarded. For this second round, allocation has been arranged as there's still funds to distribute, and the particular groups that were underrepresented in the first round were BAME groups and older people's groups as well. So the remaining £18,700 will be allocated in the second round. We particularly want to hear about applications focusing on those two particular groups. New groups will not be eligible, but if they'd like more information, Communities First or Peggy and I can signpost to sources of funding help. For this round, there's a real focus on creative projects which support vulnerable people to recover from the impact of coronavirus measures. Yes, we're particularly interested in seeing how projects can adapt to changes in COVID-19 regulations as they change in the future. So there's a particular emphasis on creatively adapting to those.
Talking to myself, sorry about that. Thanks for that, Alison. And just to clarify, in terms of new groups, the criteria has got that, sets that out a little bit clearer. But basically, what we mean is those groups that are set up relatively recently in response to COVID-19. So they're like the smaller residence groups, or where there's been some sort of attempt to constitute maybe a WhatsApp group or something like that. What we refer to as mutual aid groups, and Communities First have got a lot of support for those sorts of groups, but they're not the ones that were targeting this funding at. What we're really interested in is to keep the current groups that are running afloat with what we can on with this fund. I hope that makes sense. We can, if there's any, if people aren't sure, looking at the list of people that are here, I think you're all fairly well established. But if people aren't sure, then we can go chat it through with you a little bit more, each of your own individual circumstances. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide, which I think you might have to put up with me to talk for a little bit longer. So yeah, here's a little bit more around the criteria. These are our standard grants criteria, and it all links in with our inclusion strategy. So providing support to vulnerable communities, leading towards greater equality, enable local people to become involved in community life, encourage people from different groups to get on well together, and having a say increases people's involvement, interest in local decision making. And at the moment, obviously, it's all underpinned by coronavirus recovery. And just to reiterate what Alison said, so we didn't have very many Black and minority ethnic groups applying this time at the July round, and also not quite as many older people's organisations. And I think, to be honest, because in July it was still really quite unclear. When did we actually launch? When did we launch it, Alison? I can't quite remember now what date, but I don't know if we were still in lockdown, but it was certainly a lot of the older people's groups had just temporarily stopped running and needed a little bit more support to think about how they were going to reconnect. So I'm hoping we're able to pick up some of those groups now. Just move on to the next slide. So
Peggy, can you hear us? I seem to have lost you. Peggy, can you hear us?
yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, no, we can now. Yes, yeah, we've lost.
It just completely went.
It
there.
Did. Yeah, who are you back again? That's fantastic. Wonderful.
Can you? Right, I'm just going to
Yes.
put me. That was very, very random. Bear with me a moment. I'll put my headphones back on. How's that?
Perfect.
Everyone hear me? So at what point did I go offline?
Well, I don't think it even started talking about this slide at all, really. So Be best
Fine.
if you could take it from the top, please.
Lovely. And did I finish off talking on the last slide? But
Yes,
I'd loaded this one. Fine.
that's right.
So this one is just going over again a few of the things that were mentioned before. Creative projects are really welcome. Anything that re-establishes social contacts and alleviates loneliness is really important. Healing, we know, and that's not the physical healing from COVID-19, although there are some interesting projects around that are doing some of that work. Is important, but it's, you know, around that sort of well-being, enabling people to get through what's been fairly traumatic actually for a lot of people, and that's traumatic in the sense of they might have lost loved ones, or loved ones have been ill, but also the sort of the isolation, etc., which leads us on to sort of projects that support people's mental health. And we're interested in how you might want to adapt your existing projects to run effectively, because there's been some really superb projects out there, and it's really sad to see that when they can't run properly. And we're really up for anything that is a good creative, where I think I've got a feeling actually that Alison's got an example for us in a little while of one that adapted really well. And again, that's it, adapting your activities to meet COVID-19 requirements that are in place at the time. And now what we're seeing is that it might be a month of lockdown, a month of not, a month of lockdown. And anything that you can put into place to work out how you can stay in touch with your beneficiaries over that time, anything creative. We haven't got all the answers, certainly haven't, but we know you're very close to what the people, your beneficiaries need. You know that, so you'll know what will work. And I think Isabel will also mention this, I think, when she's going through some of the questions, but anything you can do that's involved you consulting with your members about what will work with them is really good. So evidencing the need, really, that's important. Just going to say, anyone stop me at any time. I'm really happy to be interrupted. I'm not quite sure how it works, whether you get a hands up thing on Zoom, because I can't quite see. But Isabel, you'll let me know, won't you?
I certainly will. There isn't a hands up thing as such, but if anybody does want to say anything, you can, as I say, just put something into the chat facility and up it will come, and I'll see that, and I can ask if you would be happy for somebody to ask something from you directly, or it might be able to be answered by me in the chat facility. And David Barker's just arriving from...
Hello, David. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. How long are you with us for, David?
I've got about... I've finished my last meeting a bit earlier. I need to be really away by 5 latest, if possible, Peggy. I did explain to Alison, and so my apologies for one arriving late and then 2 leaving early. My apologies.
No, that's absolutely fine. What we'd like to do, David, we'll just whiz through the rest of these slides, and then we just wanted to bring you in towards the end of the slides to chat through your experience of applying. And you've brought a guest as well, which is great. We can see a little fluffy thing down by your feet.
Sorry, I didn't realise my camera was on. Yeah, my apologies. It's getting close to his dinner time, so
he's lovely.
The whole of the meeting. My apologies.
He's lovely. He's lovely. Nice to see you, David. Welcome. So just cracking on. I mentioned the inclusion strategy before. So these are important considerations when you're looking at your project. And they're not rocket science. All of you do this work. You understand your communities, the needs of the local people, how to involve them in decision making, encouraging and empowering people to become involved in community projects and play an active role in community life. And that's the key really to our grants. That's what we do, and that's what you do by us funding these projects and ensuring access to information, feedback for local people and organisations, again, sharing information is key to empowering residents to live fulfilling lives. Current priorities, these haven't really changed over the years. So the ageing population living in the district, and I just mentioned before that we're encouraging some applications from older people's groups. Disability, we funded a number of projects for disabled people or those with learning disabilities on the first round. We still welcome them, even though we've got a focus on older people and people from Black and minority ethnic backgrounds, and race and religion and belief. So that's really what we're looking for in terms, when it says religion and belief, is inclusive services that are welcoming to people of all faiths or none. And we know that there's many faith groups in St Albans of all different faiths that work with the whole community. The ones in the middle, Sopwell, Cunningham, Batchwood, London, Colney and Redbourne, they continue to be our areas of focus. That doesn't mean to say that we're not interested if you're a project that's running in a different area. It's these areas though, in terms of deprivation and proximity, really, in terms of London Colney, proximity to the city centre, in terms of isolation, we want to reach out to London Colney, have more services there. Redbourne, because it has an ageing population. So I'm just going, oh, there you go. So has anyone got any questions on those previous slides? Are we all good? Sounds like we're all good. So I'm just going to take my mic off and I'm going to pass over to Alison very quickly, who's going to whiz through some examples of who we've funded in the past.
Thanks, Peggy. So the first example that we've got here was for the Ollie Foundation, a charity funding suicide prevention skills training, especially for those interacting with young people or young people themselves. They were awarded £5,000, so the full amount, for a programme of 3 wellbeing courses plus weekly virtual support cafes for parents experiencing anxiety and overwhelm. 30 parents were planned to complete a programme of 3 sessions, so wellbeing, anxiety management, suicide prevention, delivered by mental health experts. Yes, this has been a good example of a project that was adapted to COVID restrictions at the time, moving the courses online and providing a way to reach beneficiaries in a way that was COVID safe. I don't know if we want to move on to the next one, Peggy. Thank you. So the next one is the Daylight Club. They applied for £4,838.38p to run the Welcome to the New Daylight project. This was to help members re-engage with the club and their communities. They were awarded the funding to run mindfulness and wellbeing sessions, drama, dance, exercise sessions, and the funding also covered running costs. Again, another great example of taking a creative approach to adapt delivery of services to reach beneficiaries.
I think just to say on this one, it's worth knowing about what they did. Is they were running an awful lot on Zoom, so they managed to train themselves up on Zoom and support parents and carers to enable people with learning disabilities to access their Zoom classes. And I joined one of their Zoom sessions just before they applied for this, actually, when they were doing a bit of a pilot, and they had 20 people in the Zoom room, which was amazing. I think at that point they were all sharing photos of holidays and talking about where they would go on holiday once lockdown was finished. So I just thought I'd add that. Sorry, Alison.
Thanks, Peggy. And then we have the Youth Talk project, which was part of the 2019 funding. This was a capital items application, and it was to upgrade IT systems because the old IT systems being used were not allowing the service to run as efficiently as possible, and the fund was to upgrade the IT equipment, which was an integral part of running the service. I think it's fair to say that it became increasingly important over lockdown, with the COVID restrictions in place, and the funds allowed the service to run uninterrupted, really. Just a note on applications for capital items, it's important to illustrate the impact of those items on the service users and the delivery of that service. Just a note there, to really sort of link what those items will do to those wider outcomes.
That's great. Thank you, Alison. And before we lost my mouse. There we go. Before we go on to Isabel, I know we've got loads and loads of examples, and we could be here all evening showing you all the different projects because they're all absolutely great. Those three were at the sort of higher end of the application in terms of nearly 5,000 or nearly 5,000. Just that we do make grants of around 500, anything from sort of 500 to 5,000 really, and because we've got less in the pot this time, I think we'll be looking for probably smaller grants, so that we can share it around as effectively as possible. Right, over to Isabel.
Thank you, Peggy. And I just wanted to mention that I do remember meeting with David to talk through his application. He came into the Civic Centre offices and we talked it through. And just what Alison was saying, we were discussing how much impact it would have on the young people who needed to be in contact and for whom they needed to be in contact with. And it's a really good example of thinking with that kind of mindset in mind when you write your application. And it is really important to talk about being inclusive, including all, different people from different communities and the different areas, not only the targeted areas, but, the whole of the city and district. But it is helpful then to be very careful about reading the guidance and document, and similarly think about the inclusion strategy when you're writing an application, and follow it carefully. And then do review St Albans District Council's 4 priorities versus your aims. And I would encourage you to attend the Zoom advice surgeries which I hold, so that we can talk about your application and highlight any points that might need tweaking perhaps or adding to. And obviously start writing your application as early as you can. And it is true to say that because you've had, we talked through, we've had a chance to discuss your application and so on, it does mean that I might look at it more than once with you, that at the end we're aiming to get the ideal application, which will hopefully stand a really successful, a good success rate and give you a good chance of getting the funding. So have a clear project plan and cost your budget. I would say don't just apply for £5,000. I know that Youth Talk did, but that was part of a carefully costed up budget. So, you know, normally you would cost something absolutely as to how much it cost, not just a sort of generic amount of money. Okay, yes, next slide then please, Peggy. So here are the dates of the advice surgeries, of which you can see there are 3. The slides will be circulated, so you'll be able to click on where it says here and book in that way. And as I was saying, we will then explain in detail how to fill the form in, offer ideas, including things like evidence of need. And then once you've completed your draft application, you can email them to me in advance to the community grant fund at communitiesfirst.org.uk, and once again can review it and before you submit it finally. So unless there's any questions about that, I'll say next slide then please, Peggy. So this slide really gives an idea of the sort of activities you need to do, when you need to do them by, and it's a time plan. So this gives them, you'll notice it's against question 7D, so it's helpful to know that in the guidance there are notes for each question, which is very helpful. So in your activities and time plan, you want to recruit 2 project workers, say in September, and then you'll need to find 5 volunteers at the same time, because by October you'll have had to have bought a laptop and printed out flyers, and by November plan ahead to find in this case we're talking about a falls prevention trainer, so that you know what you've got to do when. And you can see that in the notes of printing the flyers that there's been a costing of £300, and you know that there are quite a lot of things to be done simultaneously, certainly in October. Then you've got to think about inviting all the senior groups in the district to the falls prevention training. And then you'll have to think about hiring a venue, if a venue can be hired. Of course, that depends on what the situation is with lockdown or not. So this is another good example of thinking for alternatives, because you may well have to plan for Zoom meetings, maybe in the evenings, if the restrictions are still applying. So plan for each eventuality and think ahead as to what you've got to plan for, by when, and how much it's going to cost, really. Okay, so next slide, please. And now I want to talk about outcomes, which are very important. This relates to question 10. So outcomes are the specific changes you will deliver. So things like better, more, less, improved. And you need to show the number of beneficiaries. So you might say something like, as it shows in the example here, outcome 1, 50 disabled people will feel happier and more included. And then how will you achieve this? So I write arranging group meetings and virtual events via Zoom, for example, the Daylight Centre and St Albans Performing Arts dance and singing classes. And then how will you measure it? So it's very important to add that and think about that. So you would survey 50 participants and carers. You might survey them before the event, during the event, and at the end, so you can see the before, during and after differences that you're making. So backtracking a little bit, the outcomes, for example, improved health, reduced isolation, new skills, more confidence, greater employability and better integration and so forth, are the things that you want to be thinking about when you're writing your outcomes. Are there any questions on that? Because sometimes I think people get a bit confused about that. No, we're all okay, that's fine. But as I say, I will work with you on that when you're writing your application. Okay, so next slide then, please, Peggy. You might need some information to back up your application. And these are a couple of links where you can look for that to support your project. So there's the community profile and ward profiles, which is on St Albans District Council website, as is the community survey, and they do give you quite valuable information, which is kind of illustrated in the next slide. But the link's there already, which is really good. So as an example, I think Peggy wrote this, I'm not sure, it might have been Alison, but so for example, Ashley Ward has got a higher proportion of males to females differing from national and district trends. So residents within Ward are represented by 21% non-British residents. This is also higher than district and national levels. So the project has an ever-increasing waiting list for the project and positive reply to our local consultation. So the 123 project, as it's been called, is ordinarily held at, say, the Wilcox Hut, which is a local scout hut, but it might need to be temporarily be held by Zoom. So the project is all about giving local fathers from different groups the chance with their children to attend educational and activity sessions organised by the 123 Association. So you can see that by getting this information, you've got the statistics you need to show what outcomes you want to have. So improved community cohesion and more confidence with children and their fathers, and increased number of community using a local community facility, of course, subject to the social distancing rules and whether or not you can actually hold a session in a scout hut. So really, next slide, please, Peggy.
Okay.
Just to summarise.
Oh, hold on. There we go.
I would urge you just to read the documents very carefully, and just to reiterate that this year priority will be given to creative projects supporting people to recover from the impact of COVID-19 measures. So please do come to the advice surgeries. Start writing your application early as well, because then it gives you, the earlier you start writing it, the more time we have to review it and work together to change it if it needs to be changed, add to it, or actually sometimes take away from it, because sometimes it can be tempting to write an awful lot too much, really. And I want to draw your attention to the fact that the panel, who are reading lots and lots of applications, need to be kept interested, and it needs to be easy for them to read, really. So I often say to people, try to use bullet points, and less is more. And actually, to help as a guideline, there are numbers of words that can be used for each answer now. Okay, I think that's about it.
Superb, thank you. Before we go on to that, actually, I wonder, David, because I know we haven't got you for very long. We wanted to bring you in to chat through what your experience of applying for a community grant fund has been like, and how you found the advice surgeries, how you found the application. Any advice or that you can provide would be superb.
Sure.
Thank you.
So this, we can make this really, really quick, or I can speak a bit longer. I think one word: great. I think the team were great. The advice we got, I would really encourage the session I had with Isabel just to go through. Was all really helpful in terms of just refining it. Obviously, I did the bulk of the work, but then actually just having a sensible brain that you can run it past and refine and tweak and be a critical friend to the applications you're doing, I found really helpful. And Peggy and Alison and the team and the Communities First guys were really helpful. So I think my experience was great, and of course I'm going to say that because we got £5,000. So you know it was really good, but it was fundamental to Youth Talk at that time. I just joined Youth Talk last year, and it was very apparent very quickly that the computer system was like out of the arc, and it was just something needed to change, and we needed to find the money to do it. And as Alison sort of alluded to, had we not done that, and obviously that was way before we knew what was going to happen in the world, quite simply Youth Talk would have had to close during the pandemic, no doubt in my mind, because we didn't have the systems and the computers, and everything was in the office, lots was on paper. So the grant that we got from the council was so amazing on so many levels. One, just starting to modernise and give us a solid foundation to build things going forwards. But then when the pandemic hit, the ability for people to work remotely and not have to be in the office. So the process of getting there, I found pretty smooth actually, and I will, as I'm sure many of you will, have filled in lots of funding applications from lots of trusts over the years, and have to say this one came with the most sort of hand-holding and support if you wanted it, which was great actually. Not everyone will want that, need that, but I would really encourage you to use the team there. They're the experts, they know, been doing this a long time, they're the people that know the fund better than we all do. So good on you, keep going. I hope that you are as successful as we were last year, and we're just debating at the moment whether we put an application in because it was over a year ago now. But creative projects and supporting people to recover from COVID may or may not work, but we need to give that some thought, because time is precious for all of us. And one thing that I've learned over many years of working with fundraisers is you put your efforts and your time where you think you're most likely to get the best rewards. And if you think, rather than just scattergunning and blitzing across every fund that you see, I'm thinking, looking at this, actually, creative projects and supporting people to recover from the impact of COVID-19. Well, of course, young people, which is what we support, 13 to 25, they've struggled massively because of COVID. The mental health issues have become even more dramatic. So that might be, but every hour that we all spend on these things, we want to make sure that we've got the best possible chance of success. And it's been really interesting because I've seen the trust and funding area of fundraising the most competitive it's been in probably all the years I've been involved in the sector, because as community and events has dried up, more people have started moving, so the whole space is saturated. So that's why it's so important to actually have as strong a possible application as you can, because there'll be some very difficult decisions that these guys have to make in terms of what they can or can't fund. So making your application as strong as it possibly can be, and using brains to help you do that, like Isabel and others, then I'd strongly recommend that. There's a couple of questions popped up there I just saw as I was speaking.
Let's have a look. Yeah.
Oh no, email addresses. Good. So no different questions for me. That's fantastic.
That's really, really helpful. Thank you, David. And I think you make a really good point there around not just scattergunning application forms. And we've seen when that happens and when it doesn't really work, because the application hasn't been tailored to what the need is. One, in the district, and two, also what the fund's criteria and focus is. But when you start from a point of this is what the focus of the fund is for, and this is what we can do, it works an awful lot better like that. Absolutely, please, make use of Isabel's time, and all organisations, whether those that have been running for a long time or those that have only just set up. Statistically, the organisations that make the best use of the advice surgeries do better. And it's just the way. It's just testament to that. To how good that support is. So David, I think that's that was really helpful. I remember your application from 2019, and what we found really good about it was so very obvious what the impact was going to be of the project, what the outcomes are. And I think that can be quite hard for organisations to say, well, I need this piece of equipment. I need it because I need it. But we need to know, what difference does it make? If you didn't have it, what would be the impact? If you do have it, what will be the impact? So I think that's that was
I think just one final word, then I must shoot off, Peggy. I think just on that point, absolutely. That was something that Isabel really helped actually with, in terms of challenging us on what are those outcomes, because at the end of the day, it's a new computer system. So being able to benefit how that would really help the service, it would make us more efficient. Young people would get a better service, really helped us to fine tune that and craft that. So that's again where the advice service can be really helpful in just helping you to fine tune stuff and be that sort of critical friend is I found very helpful. So
that has been of help.
Good luck, everyone who's maybe putting stuff in. Great to see you, Peggy, Isabel.
Thank you. Thank you too, David, and the dog. What's his name?
Oliver. Yeah,
Oliver. So
yes.
he can get his dinner now.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, he'll want his dinner.
Yeah, he says you're finished now. You're just chatting now. You can go.
Great. All right, great to see you all. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you, David. I've just spotted a question from Kim. How often can an organisation apply? More than once in the same year? And once successful organisations then not able to apply for a set period, i.e. no repeat applications for a 2-year period. For this community grants fund, it's only one application per year. We used to only run it once a year anyway, and then we moved it to twice a year so that it would give more organisations a better chance to apply. We don't have a restriction in terms of no repeat applications for the following year. What we do ask is that if organisations are applying the following year, that we don't just fund the same thing. Again, we ask, and it used to be quite tight actually around that. It was that we needed a new project, and the more we've thought about this, the more we realise organisations can't keep coming up with new projects. That takes up an awful lot of your time, and actually what works. So we put a clause in to say yes, you can apply for the same project, but as long as you have a development. As long as you're using the learning that you've had in your previous project to develop on to this project. So I'm trying to think of some examples now. I used to have a good example. It'll come to me, but I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, just call out again.
No, that's good, Peggy. Thank you.
No, thank you. No problem. And Peter, timescales and deadlines, please. We've got that at the end. We've just got a few more slides to go through, and then we've got all that at the end. Peter, are you still okay to be with us for a little bit longer?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, thank you.
Super. So we'll go through all of those. So I think Alison, are you happy to pick up now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Fine. Let me get back to the slides. There we go.
Okay, so I'll just go through this slide on financial information. I appreciate many of you will be looking at these on phones, etc. But if there are any specific questions around finances, we're more than happy to talk about it offline. So with your application, you will need to include accounts, including a balance sheet and income and expenditure account for 2 years where possible. If accounts are over 9 months old, a trading statement or management accounts for the period since the last accounts will be accepted, and that will bring the position as up to date as possible. A budget looking forward into the period in which the grant funding will be spent. If the above are a particular challenge for small organisations, bank statements may be accepted if they show a pattern of sustainability. Just a point on clarity and quality of information, it's very important. If items in accounts could avoid being described as other, that makes it a lot easier when our finance team look at them. The more detail, the better. It saves time to process them, and it enhances transparency. Just if there are items on there, if they can be clearly marked, as what they were for. Makes it much easier.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Alison. And just to say, I mean, this grant funds organisations of differing sizes, so some that may have a turnover of a couple of grand a year, to those that might have a much larger turnover. And it is that clarity of information that's most important. So when the applications come in, the financial information goes off to our finance department so they can do some due diligence checks. And we've had organisations that are really small that just give their balance sheet is their bank statements, but they get through with flying colours because it's so transparent. I think it's where there's a lack of transparency that they will then question. There's a question around reserves on there as well. We're always happy just to chat through if people have got unsure about the reserves question, but I think there's some guidance on there as well. I'll just move on to the next slide. There we go, Ali. All yours.
Thanks, Peggy. So we use a program called Wufoo for organisations to upload supporting documents. So you'll see there that there are numerous different fields asking for information: organisation name, contacts, email addresses, etc. And then you will see at the side of some of the fields there is a browse bar. That's where you can click on those and upload your documents there. We do ask that those documents are they're put in individually. It makes us easier it's easier for us to look at them that way. Important note to consider, as we are asking for quite a few supporting documents, so it's worth taking the time before you begin to upload them to gather them all together, perhaps in a file, so they're easy to find. It just it avoids the possibility of being logged out.
Yeah, because you can't log back into this, can you? That's the thing. You can't sort of upload one and then log out, and then so you have to do it all together.
Absolutely. And yes, you can find the link to Wufoo on the application as well. So yeah, I think that covers everything. Oh, the final thing. Oh, sorry. When you press submit, it can take a little time. Yeah, it can take a little time. So just make sure that you don't click off the page until you get a message will come up saying that the information's been received. Yeah, because I think in previous years we'd had some feedback that documents hadn't been uploaded once submit had been pressed, but it takes some time at the end of the form. So
okay, thanks Alison. I mean, it is a simple way of doing it. I know there's some people online who's probably already done this recently. I think Kate, you've used Wufoo to upload your documents recently, didn't you?
Yes.
And how did you find it? Fine, yeah.
Really, really good. As long as Alison said, you get everything in the one folder at once.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's good. I know sometimes there's a little bit of, some people can be a little bit unsure about using things like this. Not least of all me. I can sometimes get it when there's a new system, but we are going to have to move away from Wufoo at some point for a more a different system. But for now, it works fine. I would also say that if you know, do it if it's not if it doesn't work for you, that's not a deal breaker, and we can make alternative arrangements. But we just put this in place because it used to be that organisations would literally email all their stuff across, and it just clogged up inboxes, or it couldn't get sent, and all sorts of things. So this is quite a safe way of us just gathering all the information together. Oh, there we go. Another quick one for you, Ali.
Thanks, Peggy. Sorry, just to sort of piggyback onto the previous slide, that because WooFoo is a public platform, please don't upload anything that's not in the public domain.
Okay.
So yes, on to data protection. Yes, it's the responsibility of organisations to collect and store their data in accordance to GDPR, and informing people how that data is used and stored. It's our responsibility as a council to inform you how your data will be held, and your rights to accessing that. You can see on the WooFoo form and on the application form that there's some GDPR information, and a consent form at the bottom. And for more information, visit the ICO website at the bottom there for you.
Yeah, I found that website a while ago, and it seemed to be the most straightforward in terms of support around GDPR, particularly when it all first came out. I mean, in terms of what you put in, just bearing in mind as well what you're putting on your application form, that you're not sharing information on that application form that you haven't got permission for. And we've had application forms in the past that have had people's full names on, with quotes and what their how they benefited, etc. And it's great to have that, but we didn't need to know their names and their actual situations unless they'd given permission. So I think that's really important. Bear in mind as well, if you're putting anyone's email address, if you're doing it on behalf of someone else, so you've got permission to share their email address. I know, and all, you know, that lots of organisations, or particularly if they're trustees applying on for the organisation, it'll be your personal email addresses. So
and mobile phone numbers.
And mobile phone numbers, yeah, yep, and addresses, all of that. Yeah, yeah. It's we do everything we can to keep the data safe, but if you haven't had the permission to share it with us in the first place, then that starts getting tricky. So I think, yay, there we go. Here's our timescales. So Ali, do you want to talk through these and I'll chip in?
Yeah, that's fine. So Community Grants Fund, the second round opened on Tuesday, 10th of November. Communities First are holding advice workshops on Friday 20th of November, Wednesday 9th of December, and Tuesday 5th of January 2021. I've got a link there to access those. And then the closing date for application is by midnight on Monday, the 11th of January 2021. We've got the address to send those to as well. Then we've got some more timeline there. Grants panel Wednesday the 27th of January, where final decisions will be made on applications, and those notifications will go out by the 29th of January.
Okay, so thanks for that, Alison. And in response to your particular question, Peter, in terms of when the money needs to be spent by, once those grants are awarded, we have some quick setup meetings, which take a couple of weeks. So the money for successful applicants should be in the bank account by sort of mid-Feb if it all goes smoothly. We would encourage it to be spent by September 2021, but we're flexible. It's just to get it in line with the first round. That having said, we are very, very flexible on this. What organisations sometimes get a little bit nervous, so they'll get awarded a grant, and then the company go, well, we haven't spent it, or what should we do? Should we, particularly in these times, should we give some of it back to you? And we we really avoid that situation as much as we can. So if organisations find that they haven't spent it all, but they actually will do by, say, December, that's fine by us. Or in fact, if they find that they've spent it all much sooner, that's fine. We don't, in terms of monitoring, it's one of the things actually we don't cover on this presentation. Our monitoring is relatively light touch. We'll check in with you a few months into the project, find out how it's going, and then at the very end of the project we'll ask for a report. At the moment we're gathering those on Wufoo, but I think we might just be doing them on the form, and they're really straightforward. They just ask you how you met your outcomes. So in the setup meeting that Alison has with successful organisations, they'll just agree a couple of outcomes, and it'll be things like beneficiaries feel less isolated, or more confident about using a computer, things like that, those sorts of outcomes. And we'll just ask how did you meet them, were there any difficulties, what was the particular success, and we'll ask for a nice story, and that's it really. And the thing that we really like to say to organisations that get a grant is just keep in touch with us. If it's not working for you, let us know. And we've had quite a few over the years who have said, but we're not doing this, but we know this would work. Can we use the money to do something slightly different? And generally, yes, absolutely, as long as the outcomes are similar. So I hope that's helpful. There was something else I was going to say, but it slipped my mind now. So I think it's probably, let's have a look. Have we got any more slides after this? No, we've got a question. So if anyone's got any questions, then please fire ahead. I think I'm going to just stop sharing my screen for a moment. There we go.
I think you were just going to say that the money needs to be spent probably by September. But as you said, there are occasions when it may be spent a little bit before or a little bit after, especially at the moment when we don't know what's happening from one month to the next with lockdowns and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that is key. Yeah.
I've one question, Peggy, if I may.
Yeah, of course, Peter, go ahead.
So it's about re-engagement. We used CGF funding about 3 or 4 years ago. We had 2 rounds to run tea and tech up in Bath as well.
Right. Yeah.
And then we had developed it the following year with an art therapist. Could I put in a bid to, obviously that's all closed, could I put in a bid to re-engage on that project, or would I need to do something different?
No, you could put in a bid to re-engage on that project, and I think that could be really interesting. I think yours was a good example of applying again, but with a different spin on it, which was good. So you had your tea and tech, and then you developed it into an art project. But I think we'd be very interested in finding out how you're gonna re-engage with those who have been so used to having that face-to-face type of interaction and doing the same thing week in, week out. That is hard, isn't it? It's very hard to be able to support people that have been in that routine for many years. So yeah, no, by all means, see what you can get together and chat it through with Isabel. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've remembered actually what I was going to say now. That obviously we've got a lot less in the pot than we did at the beginning, so it's about 18,000. So probably not all the applications are going to be successful. I think people might be interested to know we're probably looking at around about 8 to 10 applications, funding 8 to 10 applications in this round. Would I be right on that, Alison?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. So anything from 500 up to 5,000, but probably looking in the sort of 2,000 to 3,000 mark really for applications. So not massive amounts, but hopefully we can make a difference. Got any other questions? It's gone very quiet. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Hello, Tony.
Sorry, I'm figuring out the doom. It's very, very dark behind me. Otherwise, it doesn't matter.
Well, I have a question, if I may, to
Go on.
everybody. Have you all got clear ideas as to what you might like to apply for? Or is this going to give you some ideas?
Second one, give some ideas. I don't know, in our case, it's not that easy to find a creative project that's different to what we do. You see what I mean? So we do need to find some creative ideas. So I think I need to go away and so on. You will send the slides out though, you said?
I shall indeed. If you put your email address in the chat, I can send it out to you, of course. And happy to.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
I think, Tony, just thinking about the London Colner Youth Project, and I think you've always been very clear around what your focus is, what your aim is for the young people that you serve, and I think as long as you've got that in your mind, that will serve you well. As well, also, I know you've always been good as well at talking to the young people and finding out what they want. And that really helps.
Yeah, we have regular meetings. Yes, very much.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and that will, and that's you know it's open for 9 weeks, so it gives. we recognise it is over the Christmas period, so there will be some less opportunity possibly to talk to your beneficiaries, but hopefully the long time for applications gives you enough time to do some research and consultation.
Yes, it will. Yes, thank you.
And don't forget to talk to me, email me, because I can work with you if you need to find some evidence, or you're thinking, oh, I need evidence of need, but I don't know, how am I going to get that? What should I say? How shall I approach it? You know, there's lots of different ways of looking at this and thinking about it. So, yeah, please do get in touch.
It wasn't.
Okay.
He thinks it
Thank
might
you.
have been Wendy.
Okay.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Anyone else got any questions for us?
We've got a result.
At the moment, no.
Thanks.
I think we're going to we'll have more of a thing. So we've just launched a project today based on previous year's funding. It's gone out. It's going out everywhere today.
Fabulous.
And I can share a link. So we'll be seeing all the people, and we're already. I've just on my screen. They're all the registrations are coming through. So we'll in a few weeks' time we'll be able to see how people are engaging and where people are engaging, and I guess particularly with the focus of older people and BAME, then we can see where we're getting the engagement and how we might build on that for future application. Yeah, so we'll give it a few weeks to see what happens, and then look at how we can take it forward from that.
Super, that sounds great. Thank you, Leslie. The other thing I'd say as well, which I don't think we do welcome applications where you might work with another organisation. There will be. It's not a joint application as such. It's just that we know that obviously, you know, if organisations that work together sometimes produce better outcomes, and we had some good partnerships come up through our project commissioning fund earlier on in the year, with Mind in Mid Hearts and Computer Friendly working together, so that the Mind in Mid Hearts clients were well supported in terms of their digital needs, and that worked really well. So that's another thing actually would like to see is some evidence that you know what else is going on in the district, that and I think looking at everyone on the list, they're all local to the district, but we are quite savvy. I think if there's an organisation that just comes in and hasn't done any previous work in the district, and at that point we'll be saying, but Sustainable St Albans do that sort of work, or London Colney Youth Project have been around for quite a while. Who are these people, and have they spoken to those who are in the know? So I think that's something worth bearing in mind.
Very true. Funders will not fund activities that duplicate. So that's where partnership working is sometimes really helpful.
The grants panel members are quite hot on that, actually. Yeah, they will always ask those questions, so we've learnt to ask them before it gets to grants panel.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Yeah.
Anyone else? I'm hoping it's because we haven't sent you all to sleep and that you've actually got the information that you need.
Can I ask an unrelated question?
Yeah, of course you can.
I've lost track of who's who. Who's the gentleman from London Colney? Is that?
That's Tony.
That's Tony. Okay, okay. In which case I've sent because London Colney is one of the areas we're particularly targeting. So I'll send Peter a message about that. Sorry, I've sent it to the wrong person.
Not Peter. Yeah, to Tony.
Okay.
Yeah, this was one of the things actually. If we were doing this in person, these grant launches, would be doing it in the hub down in at the Civic Centre. We'd have lots of opportunity for people just to mill around and talk amongst themselves and have coffee and tea and stuff. And it's not, it doesn't come quite so easily, this sort of networking, does it really? To these things, and it means as well that organisations can talk without us being there. So yeah, we do encourage you to talk amongst yourselves, and there might be things that you want to talk about without someone from the council there, and certainly you might want to talk to communities first without someone from the council there around what support you might need, etc., etc. So
right. Thank you, Leslie. Yes, Leslie, I'm just reading through the chat. Yes.
Yeah, I've sent it to everyone. So we've just launched this project, and it's we're going to get streets involved across the whole district. So I was particularly sending it to Tony because London Colney was one of the areas we're associated with. But we're going to send it out to all the schools, and we've got someone involved in the church, so it'll come out to all the eco groups as well, and the schools. But the London Colney link was one I didn't have to particular individual groups in London Colney. But great.
Okay.
Anybody can contact me about it, and we'll.
I'll pass it on to our coordinator, Shelley, who is the sort of face of the project, if you see what I mean. She couldn't make it today.
Yeah, and Peter, I'll send it. It's going to go out to the eco churches and eco groups as well. So please do all. Yeah.
Will do.
Okay. I'll reply. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you for letting me share that.
That's no problem at all. I'm just going down the list now. Kim, did you have any more questions?
No, I don't think so. It's quite nice to listen to your presentation and your criteria, and there's a lot of similarities in the types of things that you do, and the things that you check are absolutely what I do and what I check as well. So I think it's quite nice for organisations. They have a bit of consistency across boroughs. If you've got projects that work across boroughs and geographical areas, we sometimes get applications from organisations who are Watford and Three Rivers. So that's quite nice to see that. Now, and I'm just taking all your tips down of how Zoom works, because I think that's something I'm gonna have to try in the new year with one of my funding surgeries that I would normally do face-to-face within our community centres, but I don't think that's going to be possible. So I've actually booked on as well. I've snuck into one of the surgeries, I think the first one on the 20th of November. So I'm gonna come to that one as well. So I'm quite looking forward to that, just to get some tips and hints. But this is it's brilliant. It's worked really well. I loved all your slides, really clear. So no, really good, really good fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. And as you were speaking, it just made me think actually is that we've all had to go on a rather steep learning curve, haven't we, with this virtual world. And I'm certainly not there yet, but we do welcome applications that will develop volunteers. I think that's probably something. So it's not just about the beneficiaries, because obviously if the volunteers are become IT literate or whatever, there's all sorts of skills, isn't there, that can only benefit. There was a project we funded, Bedborne Care Group, we funded last year to train their volunteers in manual handling, actually. So that was a really successful project. So that's worth bearing in mind for those of you who employ a number of volunteers, in terms of what you might want to deliver, because you might be going, well, we could deliver stuff online, but I know that so and so and so and so and so and so wouldn't go for that. So it might be that actually your first step isn't the older people, or isn't the young people in your group. It's those that are helping them. So just to say, just to confuse matters, we are changing our grant structure. It's going through cabinet at the moment. We're hopefully going to be trying to make it more transparent, less onerous. So our community grants fund will still be there, but it will be called a community fund, and we're splitting it into two: a revenue fund and a project fund, so that organisations who do need running costs can just apply very straightforwardly, and those organisations who have an idea for something like a one-off project or a project lasting 6 months can do so. We're also going to be introducing the capital fund, and that's to make it a lot more straightforward for those organisations that really do only need some steps, so that you don't have to go through lots and lots of paperwork to do that, and that's going to be year round, so that can be applied for at any time. But we will launch all this and hopefully make it a lot clearer. We did undertake quite a lot of consultation around it, and Kim was really helpful in that, so thank you, Kim. So things will change. The application form, we will be making it a lot simpler. We do know it is quite a long application form at the moment. We have to stick to the way it is because we're still in this current financial year, and we have found as well that some of the best projects don't always shine through on the application form itself, and sometimes it is about those who can write a good application form, and we want to try and mitigate against that, really, and actually just get down to the nitty-gritty and what people want to know. That having been said, just approach your application form as if it was a bit like those job applications, isn't it, or exam questions. Just answer the question, and if it's a one line answer, then so be it. And that's it. Alison so just carry on going down the list. Leslie, we've heard from you. Tony, anything more from you, Tony?
Sorry, I'll unmute. No, that's fine. Thank you. I found it very useful.
Good. Peter, anything more from yourself?
No, as per Tony and others, very useful. Thanks for your input.
Brilliant. And Kate, anything from you?
No, thank you. I'm looking forward to the advice surgery. I've already jotted down some ideas for projects. So.
Fabulous. That's good. I'm glad that ideas are coming. That's good. Alison, was there anything you wanted to add?
I think we've covered all of it at this point. Just a reminder that obviously as people look through the criteria, etc., if questions do come up, then we're available at engagement and also through Communities First as well. So
yeah, that's a really good point. We are really available, and we want really good application forms. You know, we're not there to, you know, catch anyone out. We'd rather have a few really, really good ones than have to sift through lots of ones that aren't very good. So at this first point where we've got this level of engagement, it's super, because we know that that people are well on their way with it. And finally, Isabel, thank you very much for hosting us on the Zoom
You're very welcome.
platform. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, really, just encourage everybody to have a little think as to what you might want to apply for, and let's work together and get a highly polished application in that the grants panel can't resist.
Yeah.
And then you'll get your money. And because the council want to give you the money.
Absolutely, please, we don't want anything left. Yeah. It's we know it's needed, so we need to get it out there. If you find yourself not applying, but you know another organisation that you think could apply, or indeed you just feel like, be generous, please share it around, let people know. It's harder for us to get this information out in this in this day and age, so just use your networks, share it around, talk to your friends in the other voluntary sector organisations to bounce off ideas. And I think at that point, shall we?
Perfect.
I think we're ready to go, aren't we? So that's not bad. I don't know quite. I haven't got my. What's the time? 5:30. Not quite 5:30.
Not
so
quite
just
5:30. Yeah, that's very good timing.
Lovely. So I'll say goodbye to everyone except for Isabel and Alison, and then we'll stay on and just see if there's anything we need to pick up from.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you all and see you all
Nice
again.
to see you all. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.